Good morning, everybody. This is Ed Avis. I'm the publisher of El Restaurante magazine, and I want to welcome you to our webinar today, and thank you for attending. There are so many interesting digital opportunities these days to reach your customers. As all of you probably know, El Restaurante magazine started in 1997, well before these digital opportunities existed. But we've been building the digital opportunities for many years now. And last year we decided to go all digital. And it's been a great year for us. We've learned a lot. We've reached many, many tens of thousands of new readers who we have not reached before. And we're very happy with how the digital transformation for us has gone. So we recently began a relationship with Jacob Deaton, who is our digital consultant. And the company behind him is AdCellerant, a very well-known, powerful company that helps us create the offers for our advertisers to make sure that you can stay in the digital front. So just a couple quick housekeeping things. This event is being recorded, so you can watch it later. I'll post it on the El Restaurante website. And of course, you can share it with other people at your company if you'd like. If you have questions, you can use the questions tab to ask questions. Furthermore, you can always reach out to me or Suzanne Bernhardt or Alfredo Espinola if you have further questions, because we can help you, and we can help you choose which of these options is right for you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jacob. Jacob, thank you very much for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. Well, guys, I just want to reiterate just for a moment everything Ed was saying. So, since we began this relationship with El Restaurante, I know that it's been a fantastic opportunity for our team, and I know that Ed and I have worked quite a bit on preparing what we have for you guys today. So, we're really excited to go over all of the different pieces, but we know that there is a spectrum of knowledge and comfortability with everyone on this call. And if you hear nothing else from my intro here, I encourage each of you, ask questions, please. There are no silly questions. That is kind of like my mantra around the office. There are genuinely no silly questions. So feel free to shoot anything into that Q&A or questions tab that Ed referred to already. And I will try to get to them live and in the moment if I see any of them being incredibly pertinent to kind of what we're talking about and don't want to leave you behind along the way. But do know that at the very end, we will have dedicated time to go over any questions that you may have. So if you just want to jot them down and ask them all at the very end, you can do that as well. Awesome, guys. All right, well, let's get into it. So we've already done intros, Ed and I's beautiful pictures here. So we'll just keep moving. As far as the agendas for today, what we're going to be going through is understanding digital advertising and digital marketing, really trying to establish what is it, why is it so important today, why is it something that El Restaurante found it to be so beneficial that they went entirely digital, and they have started this relationship with AdCellerant, creating this potent 1-2 punch with us. Core considerations in digital marketing. So what are those things that we should be considering, like full funnel strategies? What is that? Why is that so important? Top products to start with, because if you've never done this before, it can be overwhelming. And we do want to give you a starting point and really those things to get off on the right foot, and then we can go from there. Setting clear goals and tracking success, because honestly, we could have some of the best products in the world, but if we are not tracking success, it honestly doesn't matter. So really want to figure out how you're tracking that success if you are right now, if you already are doing advertising in some way, identifying the KPIs that matter most to you, and then at the very end, we'll try to get to some case studies. So first things first, really what we're trying to establish here is, why is digital marketing worth your time and attention? Because frankly, it is. If this is not something that you do already, I would just encourage each and every one of you, if you come in with any, predisposition that it's a positive or it's a negative, either one, I would say just keep your mind open to everything that we're going to be asking today and or bringing up today, and be curious. Again, ask those questions if anything that I say is not making sense, or maybe it makes sense, but you want to dive a little bit further. First things first, online traffic is at an all-time high. Whether we're talking about B2C or B2B, I know if you turn on the news, online traffic, especially this time of year, is very B2C heavy. But I will tell you, from the B2B side, in your all's case in particular, trying to reach a very unique person, someone who holds a particular job title like a restaurant owner, it is absolutely something that we're seeing there as well. So more people are spending time online, and really that's actually the almost kind of burying the lead there. I say online traffic is at an all-time high. Not only is it just numerically high, like each individual person is getting online, but it's the time that people are spending online. That's actually the biggest takeaway. People have always kind of spent time online really since the inception of the internet. It's been in one big, stark uphill climb since it really started and jumped onto the scene. But again, really over the last 4 to 5 years, we've seen a stark increase in not just people being online, but again, the amount of time they're spending there overall. And if you don't believe me, this is one of my absolute favorite charts to go through. Honestly, it kind of gave me sort of like a moment of pause, because I had never really seen it be put in this term. But what you're looking at here is, this is a chart that breaks down the average time spent per day with digital media per person. And then what this does, you see like a total section up here, which is total, but then it actually breaks down whether it's mobile devices or connected TV. And if you're not familiar with that term, that's just like a smart TV or streaming TV device, desktop, laptops, and then other connected devices. What you'll notice there, if we do some math here, that's 8 hours and 5 minutes. There's 24 hours in a day, and you're getting your 8 hours. So that brings us down to, and you should be getting your 8 hours if you aren't with sleeping, but that's a whole nother webinar for another day. 24 hours though, if we back that out, that 8 hours that you're sleeping technically or resting, we're working with 16 hours. If we take away the 8 hours here, that means half of people's waking days are spent with digital media, which is insane, absolutely insane. So really the biggest takeaway here, and the bullet point, if you're taking notes, is that half of people's days on average are spent with digital media. And if we know that to be the case, we would be crazy not to be investing company dollars in reaching our target audience, where we know that statistically, on average, they're spending half of their day. Next thing, how can it impact you today? Numbers are great, stats are great. We've established that people spend on average, half of their day here. But how can it impact you? What is it about digital advertising that makes it so darn compelling? And one of the biggest reasons is that we are able to target that exact person. Advertising for the longest time was general. It was broad stroke. You put it in front of as many eyeballs as you could, and you prayed and hoped to God it would get in front of somebody that would find it compelling. And honestly, for the longest time, that was the best strategy, actually, as crazy as that sounds. But with the technology that we have access to now, we can actually be incredibly specific, which that's important for you guys, because that means that each dollar that you spend goes a whole lot farther, because we can hone in on a smaller group of people and hit that person several times with the message that you want to reach them with. Because what we know about digital advertising and advertising in general is that it's not just one touch point with a person that may convert them, it's several touch points. And so with this, what we can actually do is we can go into targeting such things as people's online behavior. In your all's case, we can actually go after job titles. So restaurant owners, for example, we can absolutely go after that. We can go after the content that they read online, or their age or gender, or anything like that at all. So really, again, the main takeaway here, it can impact you today, because we can start to stretch those marketing dollars that you would hypothetically be spending a lot farther than maybe they're being spent right now. Some core considerations in digital marketing. So again, this section is where we're trying to lay out, before we just jump in head first, we want to make sure that we're establishing some best practices, right? So just as a quick recap, we've established that digital marketing is more important than it's ever been because people spend so much of their time there. We've established that it can impact you today because of how specific we can be, and that's exciting. But there are some things that we need to be aware of. And I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit here, but omni-channel frequency is key to ROI. So whether we're talking B2B or B2C, either one here, what's important is that we're actually able to reach people with digital advertising, whether they're working, whether they're relaxing at home, whether they're doing their research on who to do business with, or they're finally shopping and making that final purchase decision for their business. And what we can do through digital advertising and using multiple different products is we can give you that sphere of influence, that with that business owner, again, whether they're at work doing their daily tasks, whether they are researching, whether they're relaxing at home with their family and in their living room, or again, they're making those final purchase decisions, we can make sure that your business is uniquely positioned to be in front of them the entire step of that buying cycle for them. And the biggest way that we're able to do that is sticking to this rule down here in that bottom section where it says 3 or more solutions is key. And the reason that 3 or more solutions is key is because at the end of the day, we're trying to do what's called a full funnel strategy. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about restaurant equipment or whether we're talking about a cup of coffee, basketball, or again, whatever it is, fill in the blank. We all follow in some shape, form, or fashion this sales funnel. That branding and awareness section, this is something where we would want to partner with you guys in creating a little bit of a broad stroke, but not too broad, reaching people who meet the characteristics that you want to go after and trying to inform them that you exist. Maybe they're not aware. Maybe you're trying to penetrate a new market for the first time and there's no way that any of them know about you. And so what we would be trying to do is get your brand name, your logo, and your offering message out there. Next, we would want to make sure that down here in this consideration phase, we're reaching people who are searching online and they're starting those beginning phases of trying to, dwindle down their list of potential options to purchase from down to maybe like their top 3 or something like that. Next, in this conversion phase, this is where we would make sure that when that person is making that final purchasing decision on Google or any other search engine, that we could make sure that, again, your website, your offering is up there at the top of the search results to be selected from that restaurant owner in most cases. And what this does when we do 3 or more key solutions, it starts the conversation, it keeps the conversation going here in the middle, and then we close out the conversation. So we're giving you a chance at each step of the funnel, because if all we do is tell people about you, but we don't keep in front of them the whole way, what we end up doing is we start the conversation and then we kind of lose them and they end up going to a competitor because honestly, they're not going to remember us the entire time because we're not the only business that's trying to get their business. And on the flip side, if all we do is focus on conversions and we don't tell people about us in the beginning phase, they really have no reason to select us. Because a lot of times whenever we select something, again, as important as business equipment for a restaurant or something as simple as the cereal I might buy my son at the grocery store, there's a reason I select the Fruit Loops over Raisin Bran, for example. Well, Fruit Loops does a whole lot better job marketing to me and my son, unfortunately, and he just has to have his flippin' Fruit Loops. And in this case, there's a reason that you select. There are other variables that play with something a little bit more serious, like pricing and things like that. But at the end of the day, we all gravitate towards what we find familiar. And so what we would try to do down here in this conversion phase is make sure that they've heard about you beforehand, which gives us an exponentially more higher likelihood of being selected over maybe some other potential vendors.
Jacob, if I can jump in real quick,
Yeah.
on the funnel, I think that people kind of understand when we had the physical magazine, that was one touch.
Mhm.
And maybe if we did some editorial about you, it was two. And if we did it, if you advertised 5 times a year, that was 5 hits. The beauty of the digital strategy is we can still get you with the magazine, the digital version of the
Mhm.
magazine. That's one of these touch points. Then there's the equivalent ads in other places on our website. That's 2, 3, maybe 4 more touch points. Then there's our email newsletter. And then there are some of these advanced strategies that Jacob's going to talk about. So
Yep.
whereas in the old days with the print magazine, we had 1 or 2 touch points per edition, now we can get 8 touch points in a much shorter period of time, which puts people into that funnel and down to the bottom of that funnel and hitting them at each step of the way. That's one of the beauties of the digital opportunities, is that
Yeah.
we can get to this 8 touch points juncture more quickly than we could in the past.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, in a lot of cases, because we actually, and I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse here a little bit, but I'll kind of tease it out here. We actually have the capability to control the amount of times that an individual user's device may see an ad per day. And we call that frequency capping. And so what we actually do is we can control it, and our go-to frequency is 3 times every 8 hours per person. And so in a day, they would have a maximum potential of seeing your ad 9 times within the 24-hour period. So that is, again, to Ed's point, is a significant increase to what we would maybe be able to do with some other strategies in the past. Great call out, Ed. Setting up goals and KPIs. Honestly, this is probably the most important thing I'm going to talk about today, to be very honest with you. So, again, if you had to pick one thing to get from today, I would strongly encourage you to take this away. And the reason being is that if we enter into a relationship together, we've got to know where we're rowing the boat. When we get on our monthly reporting calls, or we send you over reporting, whatever works best for you, when we're talking to what success is, we want to make sure that we're speaking the same language. One of the things I hate the most is if I get on calls and clear KPIs have not been set up, is I'm talking about something that the client doesn't care about. And then they're like, well, that's great, man. But we have, that's not really what pays the bills. And that's not really what keeps the lights on for us. And so for my encouragement for each of you that are listening, I encourage you, as we're going through this, think of those things that matter to your business. Some of you, it's going to be simpler than others, but I encourage you guys to think of those things that matter, those things you like to track, and ask either right now or at the very end, kind of how we would be able to potentially set those things up for you. So when you're thinking of the questions to ask yourself, if you're not really sure where to start, I encourage you to start with, am I tracking success? How am I tracking success? Like, where are your dollars being spent if you've already started? Do you know what you're paying for? Where are you ranking on Google? Any competitors that you may have, are they ranking higher? Are you running any digital marketing campaigns? And then overall, really trying to ask yourself, how can digital really better my business? First thing to know is that conversion tracking. Conversion tracking is one of the most unique things about digital advertising, and it is one of the things that time and time again, I see the clients that I work with. This is what wins them over. Because with traditional media, while I'm a big advocate of traditional media, this is one of the weak spots. This is where it can be tough because it's hard to really know, well, did this make a big impact for my business? Did it not? But with digital advertising and conversion tracking, what we are actually able to do is we can actually track specific actions taken on your website. You can actually see here with Casa Herrera, this is an example, we could actually track how many people saw your ad and then ended up coming to the homepage, or ended up going to the category page, or the equipment page, the request information page, or the contact us page. And that is incredibly valuable, Because what we're able to do then on a 30-day basis is we can take a look at, all right, great. What was your return on your investment? And it's not ambiguous in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It's very obvious. Did this drive conversions for me? Yes or no. Did this generate interest for me? Yes or no. And there's really not a whole lot of room for any gray area. So again, this is one of the nicest things about it. And it's important to know with the digital solutions that we're going to be talking about today, the first one and the second one, actually, we can do what's called post-click and post-impression conversions. Guys, this is incredibly cool. One of the coolest things that I get to talk about. And post-click, it's not as cool. It's still cool, but not nearly as cool as the second one. Post-click is where they'll see an ad, they click on it, they being the hopeful customer or the prospective customer, they'll click on the ad, they'll go to your website, and they'll take that action that we're tracking, right? Post impression is where, in my opinion, the cool part starts, where we can actually track, even if they just see the ad, but they don't click on the ad, but maybe they think about it later, maybe like a few days later or a week later, and then they go to your website after just seeing it. Again, they don't click on it in any way, they don't save it, they don't take any kind of action, they just see it. And then they go to your website either later that day or a week later. We can track that as what's called a post-impression conversion, which is amazing. And we actually break that out in our reporting system for you guys to be able to see which ones are post-impression versus post-click. So again, really just trying to drive home that theme of data really being at your fingertips and at your will.
Yeah, Jacob, let me jump in real quick. This is, like Jacob said, a very powerful way to see how your advertising is working. It does require that you partner with us in order to get the right technology connected to your website. That's the key point here. We can't measure these types of return visits, etc., unless we have a little bit of a connection to your website. So that's a little bit of a requirement, but the consequence is so great because then we can see that so-and-so visited you through an ad, then they came back, then they did this and they did that. It's way more powerful than just knowing, maybe someone saw us, as it was in the old days. So this is another example of what the digital world can give us that we weren't getting before.
Absolutely. And Suzanne actually asked a fantastic question that I want to answer live. So she asked, what is KPI? So if anyone else maybe had that question and didn't ask it, I do want to make sure that I cover that. KPI is just a really fancy acronym that stands for Key Performance Indicator, which honestly are conversions in this situation. So KPIs are really just those things that matter to your business. It could be phone calls, it could be form fills, it could be orders, it could be sales, whatever it is that really, again, keeps the lights on for your business and really is an indicator that you're going to have success this quarter or this month. This is what a KPI would be. Good question, though. All right. But where the heck do you start? All this being said, all of those conversions, the site traffic being at an all-time high, the full funnel strategy, we talked about 3 or more products being key. If I'm you, I'm like, okay, that's great, Jacob, but what product should I start with? And so that's what we're really going to be driving home right now. So where do you start? And I'm a big believer in keeping it simple. First things first, programmatic display. Programmatic display is one of the best starting points for any business, period. And actually, I would say that I misspoke right there. It's not a great starting point. I would say it's great no matter where you are. National brands, whether you're a Walt Disney company or a Dick's Sporting Goods or anything like that, or if you're a small mom and pop shop, it really doesn't matter. Programmatic display is a fantastic foundation piece to any marketing strategy that you put together. And this is specifically really great to be highly targeted, like we were talking about before, and being able to go after those people who hold those job titles, or being able to lean into site traffic data like with elrestaurante.com. So programmatic display is a fantastic solution for really reaching that ideal target audience across the web.
And attendees, I want to tell you that programmatic display is the fancy word for what we call on our media kit targeted web. Targeted web advertising is programmatic advertising.
Yep. Great call out. So some of the things that make it unique. So first one is cost-effective brand awareness. So again, this is a really inexpensive option to be able to leverage all of those things that we talked about with reaching that ideal target audience. Already said this, but targeting the very specific audience, and then we can market to any of those existing customers that you may have that potentially could have gone to your website already. If you're not familiar with programmatic display ads, so these are animated billboards on the internet. These are animated billboards that are otherwise referred to as banner ads or rich media ads that appear next to content on websites. You'll actually can see some of the examples over here on the right-hand side and the bottom of the screen. And these can be on desktop or laptop computers or mobile devices, either one. You can already see here that they can be still or animated, either one. And then really, again, that last bullet point there, we've already talked about, we can track that user behavior after they've clicked on the ad or after they've seen the ad.
Let me add this too, Jacob. If you're an advertiser in El Restaurante, you already are getting some of these ads on our website, not in all of the sizes that are sometimes required for programmatic, but you're already getting some of these, and we can design these for you. So if you're looking at these and you think, well, I don't know how to make that, don't worry. We have our designer ready to go to work for you, and it's part of your advertising package. There's no cost. He is a great designer. He does these things all day for us. He knows the specs. So don't be intimidated if you're looking at an ad and thinking that that's something too complicated. We can offer that for you. So don't let that be a barrier.
Yeah, great call out. Now, as far as where these ads would be popping up at, so one of the unique things about partnering with us is that we do have access to really the best inventory out there. And really what that means for you when I say inventory is we're talking about websites available. We can be on national websites such as ESPN. This is one that we've worked with in the past where, it's for Oscars 95 and Live Sunday, ABC. And again, this is above the fold on an ESPN website. This is another example where this is on The Atlantic. This is built within an article. And this is one that Toyota was running for their new Toyota Crown. And they're introducing their all-new Toyota Crown with the beautiful Toyota Crown right there, smack dab in the middle. And I just want to reiterate that this is only going to that target audience that we build up. This is not just wide swath to anyone and everyone that goes on ESPN or The Atlantic or any of the other websites that we've talked about. What we are able to do, and honestly, test it in your own life, where if you have a spouse or a friend, whatever, pull up the same website sometime. Pull up like an ESPN or a recipe website or something like that. And you'll notice that both of you get two different ads, almost certainly. If you get the same ad, I guess you really are best friends. But you probably will get two separate ads. And the reason for that is we're all different people. We all have different interests, different characteristics, and different job titles, right? And so in this case, what we would be able to do is match that unique ad with that unique individual, no matter where they are across the web. Ed, do you have something you want to add on there?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that. So
yes.
For example, someone who looked at the El Restaurante website previously,
yeah,
or maybe someone who searched for tortilla equipment somewhere or something like that, somehow they already identified themselves as a potential customer of yours.
Yep.
That is who we are going to send this ad to, whether they're reading the Atlantic magazine or whether they're checking their email or whether they're, going to CNN.com, whatever it is.
Yep.
Wherever we have access, we can feed that same ad to them. So if they were thinking about buying a tortilla machine by reading an article on El Restaurante, that might have been one touch. But then 2 hours later, when they're reading another article in some favorite magazine, they see another ad and it says tortilla machine. That's how this system works.
Great call out. Last thing that I'll mention is that whenever I say anywhere across the web, there is an asterisk with that I want to make sure that I mention that any sites with explicit or negative content, we do have systems in place to block that. So any of the websites that fall within that category, we do partner up with a handful of brand safety tools that do protect your brand from popping up on any of those negative sites. So if you were thinking that, a little bit concerned, just know that we've already thought of that and we do have that taken care of. Last example, this is Vrbo. They were running one on Taste of Home. It's over here on the right-hand side, vacation homes for whoever you call family. So a really nice, pretty house right there. But how do programmatic display ads work, right? This is one of the most common questions that I get. We'll talk about the targeting, the way that we're able to do it, and everyone's like, man, that sounds great. But how in the world do you guys do this? So that, this sounds great. I want to do it, but how do you do it? And so it's interesting. You see there in that first line, we leave digital fingerprints. And honestly, that's the best way to think about it. Now more than ever in our daily lives, I get up this morning and I'm reading the BBC and I'm catching up on some of the crazy stuff going on in overseas. And as I'm reading that, the fact that I read that article leaves a digital fingerprint. So if somebody were to run a campaign to reach people who are interested in foreign affairs, I would likely be that person that they would go after if they run a campaign within my area. Same thing here, that we don't even realize the amount of times we're giving up information that, it's just an extension of our daily life. Like, for example, in this case, if we were to go after restaurant owners, well, how in the world do you manage to do that? It's a great question. Anytime a business may apply for a loan or apply for a credit card, whenever you do that, you have to give up the information for what it's for and what occupation you hold, whether that's with MasterCard or a national bank or whatever the case may be. And when you do that, that data is stored and then sold off. And whenever that happens, it gets put into pools that we can then work with and use for really targeted marketing campaigns. In this case, that's how we are able to go after people who hold those very specific job titles. So again, a really great way. And again, we like being able to use it to help you guys spend your marketing dollars a little bit better. And going into some of the audiences that we can target with display because of that. First thing is, I've already kind of mentioned it with the content targeting. So this is where, based on the articles that people may be reading online, Ed's already touched on it as well. Demographic targeting, this is where we can actually target people based on the age, income level, education level, ethnicity, marital status, or gender that they may have. Behavioral targeting, geographic targeting, site retargeting, this is going to be the biggest one, where again, we are able to target people who have previously visited your site or the El Restaurante site. So that's again where I think the most interest is going to be right out the gate. And that is absolutely something that we can work with. And then search retargeting, this is where we can actually retarget people based on the keywords that they're searching online. So if they were searching for specific equipment that you sell or offer or services that you offer, whatever the case may be, we are able to retarget those keywords that potential customer is searching online and show them the display ads. Next, with device ID targeting, this is one that always gets people really excited. Reason being is that device ID targeting is really this amazing cutting edge technology that allows us to be able to geofence certain facilities, in this case, restaurants or trade shows, anything like that, and then be able to actually show ads to people who were at those geographic locations in the past. So yes, and you can actually even see an example of what I'm talking about here on the right-hand side of the screen. This example is done for a mall, and what we are able to do is we go in and we hand draw these locations, and then we are actually able to upload into our tool of requests to say, hey, we want to show ads to everyone who was there over the last 6 months or over the last year, or people who were there at any point in time, again, over the last year. And again, 12 months is the farthest back that we can go, or we can go as recent as 3 days ago. So hypothetically, if there was a trade show that you really want to get in front of that target audience, what we would be able to do is create an audience 3 days after the event has been held, and then start to retarget ads to everyone who was there. So definitely a pretty compelling strategy when you're thinking about how to get in front of people more than just their demographic information, but actually going after where they were physically.
Jacob, let me add a couple things to that real quick.
Yeah.
On our media kit, you can see that event geofencing is one category, trade show geofencing. So for example, we will geofence for sure the National Restaurant Show, the Texas Restaurant Marketplace, the California Show, NAFEM, that big equipment show. We'll target those shows and any others that a specific advertiser requests for. And like Jacob said, we can target them over a specific period of time. So the NRA show is 4 days. We can say, send this ad to the attendees of the NRA show, meaning people in McCormick Place, Chicago, for these 4 days, and then keep sending them an ad for the next 30 days. That's a very focused way to get people who are clearly in the buying mood. The second thing I want to say about geofencing is this is a way that we have been able to continue to target our former print magazine subscribers, because through Jacob's company, we are able to geofence the restaurants where our subscribers exist. Now, we don't want the customers of those restaurants, obviously. So what we do is it's called a frequency limit. And what it says is we're only going to target people in these restaurants who are there 3 days within a week or something like that. That way, it's not a customer who shows up to buy a burrito, because who cares about that? We want the manager, or we want the cook, or the owner. So that is how we are able to continue focusing on these physical restaurant locations that we used to send a print magazine to.
Yeah. See, a question came through. How are you able to know who's at the trade show? Great question, Suzanne. So the way, and I'll just go ahead and hit answer live there. So what we are able to do, so with our platform, we actually harvest location data for the entire United States, and we actually store that data for up to a year. And the way that we know that you were there is because we all carry these darn things around. And so with these phones, as long as you are using your location services, and spoiler alert, we all are using our location services if you check the weather within the last few hours, then that means that your location services, again, are turned on, and that's what we are able to leverage to know that you were there. So really it boils down to you having your phone on you and you using something as simple as the weather app or the Maps app, which again utilizes location services, which again we're able to leverage to know that you were there. Does that answer your question, Suzanne? I'm gonna assume so, but I'll get back. Awesome. Anyone else have any other questions like that on like how we're able to do it? All right. Well, if there are any other questions, I'll try to keep an eye out for the little notification that pops up on my screen. But again, feel free to ask any and all questions. All right, so micro proximity. So micro proximity, let's stay on the trade show side of things. This is where we would actually be able to leverage real-time geofencing. So everything that we talked about so far is historical, right? We're saying we're going to go back in time and show ads to everyone who was there. But if you are at the trade show or you have somebody at the trade show and you are trying to get in front of people while they are there, maybe you're trying to get them to go to a booth, or maybe you just want to reach them while they're there, we are able to geofence either the event, we could geofence the hotels that people may be staying at for the trade show, or the restaurants that are nearby that we know they're going to go to, and we can show ads to everyone who is there during the entire length of the trade show. A lot of times we will actually pair micro proximity with device ID. And what we're able to do there is target them while they are in the moment, and then we can actually retarget them after the fact. So it creates this really great 1-2 punch of, again, reaching them while they're there, but then also reaching them when they leave. That was great. Okay, awesome. Good to hear it, Suzanne. All right. Well, that wraps up geofencing. So I'm going to move on to our next solution, email marketing. Email marketing, guys, is a fantastic solution. I do think it is probably the one where I feel like our team gets to flex our muscles the most as far as who it is that we get to go after. And the reason being is that our email database requires that every single person is double opted in. So when you're double opted in, what that means is that there are 2 different opt-in points. It could be like a newsletter that you're subscribed to. It could have been, honestly, like a trade show that you could have attended. And if you've ever checked that box at the very bottom of the sign up that says that information can be used for marketing purposes, and you honestly may not even have read the little checkbox to know that it said that, but it's what it says 9 times out of 10. And what that allows us to do is to pinpoint a very interested group of people. It allows us to pinpoint and know that it wasn't just some person who tagged along once upon a time with somebody, or maybe they accidentally signed up for a newsletter or whatever the case may be. But we know that with those 2 different opt-in points, we see an exponential increase from only doing a 1 opt-in point system of performance. We see a huge jump when we moved to a double opt-in system. So again, when it comes to the double opt-in, what that also guarantees is that we really don't see anything go to spam. The reason that a lot of these emails go to spam is that, again, there is no opt-in point, or you've purchased the emails and things like that. We have not purchased these emails. We have a reciprocal network that allows us to get access to them. So we're not going out and buying these and sending them out. And 90% of the people are like, what the heck? What is this? This doesn't matter to me. Again, there are 2 different opt-in points for each of these Mexican restaurant owners that we would be sending to. And in this case, we have 38,000 different Mexican restaurant owners that, again, who have opted in to receive offers and incentives. So a really healthy group of people that we're always adding to. That's 38,000 today. By the end of the year, it could be 45,000. We're always adding new data pieces and scrubbing out the old ones and replacing it with new ones. As far as what our email marketing campaigns look like, because I know everyone's are different, we do strive to make these cutting edge. We really do strive to make these just as appealing as a Ford may send out, or a big brand like the Irish Snug, or a data conference, or anything like that. So we would be able to do the same thing for you. So we do offer email creative services. So if you're looking this and you're like, hey, this sounds great, but honestly, this is incredibly daunting, we would be able to help you create an amazing template to be able to reuse over and over, as long as you provide content and things like that. But yeah, so we would be able to work with you on creative services for this type of send as well. So tracking success and reporting, but actually I'm going to hop back just real quick. So with email marketing, does anyone have any questions about this part? Any concerns about how this may fit with you and your business? We just want to make sure that I pause for a second. All right.
Jacob, I'm sure you're going to get to this in your
Yes, sir.
next slides, but
Mhm.
regarding the email, I just want to mention that we do have the data that shows you how many opens and how many clicks go through those emails. So that
Yes.
38,000 is not just a random wing it out there number. When
Great,
a
great
week
call
or
out.
so later, you're going to get data that shows how many people opened it and what the clicks are. And
Yeah.
we use that same list to distribute the digital edition, and I can tell you it's a great list. Our opens and clicks are way off the charts, so I recommend that list highly because it's good, it works.
Yeah. So what Ed is talking about, honestly, it's a great tee up, is the tracking success and reporting. I talked about conversion tracking and KPIs and or key performance indicators and things like that being really important. This is right there with it. Because if you guys were to invest money into something like digital advertising, we want to make sure that we are understanding what it is doing for your business, and the tracking success and reporting is really where all that happens. So what we actually allow you to have access to is a 24/7 live dashboard. And with that live dashboard, we can meet with you and answer any questions that you may have. But what this allows you to do is we really try to set a culture of transparency. And with the emails that we send out or the display campaigns that we do, you would actually have access to every single piece of data that you may ever need, such as the impressions that we've served, the clicks that we've had, the conversions that we've had, and which conversions we've had. We can give you information like what websites we're serving these impressions on and how many impressions we've served on each site. We can let you know what time of day people are seeing your ads. With the email marketing campaign, like Ed said, it does take a couple days for us to start seeing some results there, just because all of us may take a day or two to open up all the emails that we may have in our inbox. And since these are real people, they have real people characteristics and behaviors. And so over the period of a week, we really get to see the full picture. And since it's a live dashboard, as people open up the emails in their inbox and they click on it or they bounce out or whatever, we would actually see all of that in a live format within the dashboard that we would provide you. And just as an FYI, the same dashboard you get access to, I have access to. I don't have a special view that you don't. Again, we really do try to set a culture of transparency. So if something's up, you're going to know it just the same as I do. Any questions that you guys have, or Ed, anything you want to add on there on the reporting side?
So, like
No?
Jacob
All
said, the
right.
data's all there.
Yep.
Once your campaign starts running, we'll give you this access and you can start tracking stuff.
Absolutely. Now, one thing I would add on is we are very aware that, like I said in the very beginning, I think it was one of the first things I said, everyone on this call is likely in a different spot in their digital proficiency. So, what I want to, and even if you're like tops on your digital proficiency, there are going to be things about our dashboard that may not make total sense right out the gate. So, something I definitely want to iterate is that we will and would expect to get on a call with you, walk you through the questions that you may have about our dashboard, so that whenever you're looking at it on a regular basis, you don't have to, ask any of those questions, and you feel comfortable looking at the information that you are. And in conclusion, what I would like to say is that, guys, there are just a few things that we should really be looking for, and really what you honestly should be looking for in a digital partner. First thing is experience. You really want to be understanding who have they worked with, and was it successful? What type of information do they have access to? Do they have case studies that prove that this works? Next is going to be data quality. Not all data is created equal. And so, again, making sure that you understand what pools of data that they're coming from, and is that the best one for your business? Transparency. This is going to be probably the biggest one, I would say, because honestly, in this space, especially if you don't always understand what it is that you're looking at, there can be a lot of room for maybe pushing some things under the rug, and that's the last thing we would want to do here. So we really do want to make sure that we're fostering that trust, accountability, and credibility whenever we connect and go over the campaign reporting. Last but certainly not least is product mix. It takes multiple solutions to get the job done. It is not one size fits all. There's not a one trick pony. Again, we are big believers in it taking multiple solutions to get the job done, to remember to get that full funnel strategy that I talked about. So making sure that you do partner with somebody that does believe that. Because again, I'm a huge advocate of that. I believe that the right digital partner would definitely be doing that for you and advocating for that on your behalf, and making sure that we're reaching people at each step of that buyer's journey. Again, if it's something as simple as a cup of coffee, or something as big and important as a piece of equipment that we would have within a restaurant. And that's all that I have for you guys today. But definitely, it's not the end, though. I do just want to iterate again that next step is any questions that anyone may have, or anything else that you may want to add on, Ed, before we close out here.
Yeah, I just want to note that our media kit has some data, and it definitely includes prices for these services. Our media kit is not hidden. It's not something you got to hunt for. It's on our website. You just click on the advertise tab across the top and it shows up. Suzanne and Alfredo and I will reach out to you if you're on our list of prospects, of course. We always like to keep in touch with you to see if these are some solutions that will work for you. But if you're interested and you haven't heard from us, reach out. We are willing and ready to talk about this, because we strongly believe this is how your business will grow, and this is how El Restaurante can help you grow your business.
Absolutely. And again, if there's any questions or concerns that you may have, and you get off of here and you think of a couple things you'd like to follow up on, Ed and I would love to connect with you and have, again, a no strings attached conversation, and just kind of, dig a little bit further and see what may be a good fit with partnering with El Restaurante.
Great. Well, thank you, Jacob, so much for your time today and your expertise.
Absolutely.
It's great to have someone who really knows what's going on from the outset. And thank you,
absolutely.
attendees, for your attention today. Hope you learned something, and remember that we've been recording this, so it'll be posted on elrestaurante.com later, and I'll send it out to everyone too, so you can find it easily.
Awesome.
And I think that ends our webinar. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much. All right. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.